that if I don't put the brake on this thing, it rolls away. A London newspaper ran the results of an imagination test that included this challenging question: what would it be like if people had two heads? Youngsters were able to respond with great creativity and imagination. And here are some of their answers. With two heads, you would be able to sing a duet in the shower. With two heads, if someone talked your head off, you'd still have one left. With two heads, I could see eye to eye with myself. You can't make this stuff up. But the newspaper went on to report that adults failed the imagination test. Their answers could not get beyond rigid, grown-up patterns. Unlike the youngsters, the adults seemed unable to imagine the possibility that two-headed humans could even exist, much less sing a duet in the shower. With a little imagination, perhaps, we might see how today's gospel reminds us of the need to get beyond rigid, grown-up patterns in order to appreciate our status as God's beloved children. In today's gospel, Luke tells us that when Jesus was baptized, a voice came from heaven saying, "You are my beloved Son. With you I am well pleased." This raises a challenging question. Can we get beyond those rigid, grown-up patterns and hear the same voice coming down from heaven saying, "You are my child. You are my beloved. With you I am well pleased"? Can we get beyond those rigid adult patterns and put our total childlike trust in God's promise of His eternal, unconditional love for each and every one of us? In an adult Bible class, a discussion turned to the meaning of prayer. Ask, and it will be given to you. For everyone who asks receives, as the pastor quoted from Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. Then he asked the group whether they prayed regularly to God, and if so, what did they usually pray for? One person said that he prayed for good health. A woman answered, happiness. Several others said they prayed for eternal salvation in the next world. But one elderly woman, she just kept shaking her head when she heard these answers. When it was her turn, she said, "It's very simple. I believe in God, and what I pray for is that God believe in me." But you see, it's not a matter of trying to change God's mind about you or me. God already believes in each one of us. The Son of God became flesh to reveal and to demonstrate the intensity of God's love for us. We are in the mind of God from the very beginning. Each of us, is an integral, necessary, vital part of God's creative plan for the fulfillment of his kingdom of love. My friends, we need to believe this with all of our heart, all of our mind, and all of our soul. Whatever our present difficulties might be, whatever adult-type worries we may be having about not being appreciated by others, we can absolutely be certain that our presence in this world is appreciated by God. A mother was determined to instill a sense of confidence in her children at the earliest possible age. As soon as her first child was old enough to respond, she began to ask him over and over again, "Why do I love you?" And she taught him to answer, "Because I'm Matthew." When the mother's second child, Lillian, was old enough, she tried the same dialogue. "Why do I love you?" she asked. And without any hesitation, Lillian responded, "Because I'm Matthew." Told you can't make this stuff up. Why does God love all us Matthews, all us Lillians, Roberts, Marys, Alices, Henrys? Because every last one of us has been uniquely created in the image and the likeness of our God. Because God created each and every one of us with a particular purpose in mind. God needed and wanted each one of us in his creative plan for the coming of the kingdom. None of us must trivialize this awesome reality by trying to fit it into our rigid, grown-up patterns. Please don't analyze it. Don't intellectualize it. Don't speculate on it. Don't conceptualize it. Don't put limits on it. Just accept it. Just embrace it. Just experience it. Just enjoy it. A boy came home from school and said to his father, "My teacher said to tell you there will be a PTA meeting at school tomorrow night." "Do I have to go?" the father asked. "I think they'll be expecting you," the little boy said. "You see, it's a very small meeting, just the teacher, the principal, you, and me." When each of us goes home from church today, it might be a good idea for each of us to schedule a small meeting as soon as possible between just ourselves and God. Then, let's take Jesus' advice and become like a child again. In an attitude of childlike trust, let us listen to God's heavenly voice saying, "You are my beloved child. With you I am well pleased. I believe in you." Let us allow ourselves to experience God's loving presence. Immerse ourselves deeply in the being of God and feel ourselves going beyond the rigid adult patterns that all too often we let drag us down. Let go of all anxiety that has us so uptight. Trust in God's affirmation of our individual worth. Trust in God's promise that we ultimately have nothing to fear. My friends, may we deepen our trust of God in this way. Continue to build this experience into a whole new lifestyle. And we will experience the wholeness of life. And it will begin to rub off on others. We are able to minister to others effectively only out of our strengths. To be a good parent, to be a good spouse, to be a good neighbor, to be a good child, a good minister, we need to use the resources that God pours daily into our lives. We need to trust in those resources to give us the strength and the dedication and the hope that equips us for our ministry of loving service for others. Let us continue to work at giving ourselves over to the Father with a childlike trust. May we often hear the Lord speak to us as his beloved son or daughter. If we really believe in this reality, amazing things will happen. We will simultaneously hear God saying the very same thing to all our brothers and sisters everywhere. We will also appreciate their individual worth as we never did before. And we will act accordingly. Amen.